Hello everybody, my name is Kenneth and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am a month behind, guys. So for those of you guys that don't know, I took a break because I wasn't very well. I missed Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 on Pablo's channel, which were the Aala performance, the Determinado performance, and the La Luna performance. Now, all of these videos, before we get into this, all of them say this video contains visual effects that may trigger seizures for people with photosensitive epilepsy. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. So I wanted to say that before we get into this. I don't know what the difference between these videos are going to be in relation to the live performances we've seen, and also the obviously music video and visualizers that we've seen. So it will be interesting to see how these differ and see what the kind of vibe is, because it could be entirely different. It could be casually, a casual kind of thing, or could be like a really serious like performance, if that makes sense. I'm really excited to check it out. Before we get into it, pause warning. While I have heard Aala, La Luna, and Determinado, I just want to say I will pause because I have things to say. My little brain has things it likes to say. And so if pausing isn't for you, that's absolutely fine. But this is your pause warning now. And yeah, let us get into Act 1, 2, and 3. I like the idea, by the way, just before we get into this random tangent. I like that we've got this story forming with these songs. So yeah, let's get into this. Okay. Okay, so it's almost like a short film so far. Or a music video. Because Aala didn't have one, did it? I don't remember reacting to one. We definitely did the visualizer. Wait, did he just open that with a knife? Dexterity Hugh? I could never. I know it's a performance video. Oh, hello. Hello, Josue. Hi. Didn't expect him to stand up there. I was just gonna say, I know it's a performance video, but it's interesting having it, because obviously Aala deals, as we've talked about before, the many facets and experiences of drinking alcohol. And we've got this hybrid performance music video kind of thing going on here. Again, I didn't know what I was expecting, but it's that kind of funny thing of like, because of the almost music video half kind of thing. It's like when people randomly start singing in movies. It works obviously in the moment, but like when you think about it in hindsight, it's a little bit like, ooh, silly. Do you know what I mean? And so it's just funny, like they're having like this social gathering. There's someone playing the drums in the background. Josue is singing, well, rapping, and I feel like it's that kind of weird thing about like realism. Like no one's looking at him or anything. I'm not gonna lie, just on the thing. If I was near these two guys, I wouldn't be able to be holding a conversation. I'd keep looking over and being like, wow, he sounds great. Wow, they sound really good. Also, I like the idea, sorry, pausing. I don't know what they call it, but you have it at like restaurants and stuff, where it's like a spinning thing. You put your like food or your drink on it and you spin it. It's often used for like when you've got like those kind of buffet style restaurants where you've got like multiple different types of food and someone can spin it and then take off what they kind of want for from that section and then spin it back. And I like the way that they're using that for this here because it's such a natural motion. Sorry, I know we're getting to the shat part. But just seeing it like this, actually, you know, what I was saying earlier, seeing Pablo and Josue interacting with the other people in the scene, and it's almost this kind of thing of, obviously, there's the loneliness in the lyric, but it's really well shown here because one, especially Pablo here, they're like talking to us, but as the camera moves, it's almost like we're an extra person in the scene, but we're the only people that are taking notice of it. Because it's like here Josue reaches out but doesn't seem to get a reaction, and then we go the way the camera moves, it's almost like we're just, you know, just another friend hanging out. Okay, that was cool. I really like the way that they poured the alcohol over us. Again, there you've got the kind of the social pressure kind of drinking where they're like, drink, 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 and this person doesn't like the taste, like one of the lyrics says. And there's that shame because here she runs off, and these people are laughing at her because she's not able to hold her drink. Kailangan ko pa bang isama yan sa bagay na dapat ko na matutunan. Kulang pa ang aking kaalaman, puso'y nalalaman. Di ko na nga alam saan papapunta. Siguro nga ito lang ang sagot. Diyos ko po, di ko na malaman ang gusto nyo. Gusto ko lang subukan na maging ako nang walang pangusga sa bahay. It's almost like they're not playing themselves at times, like, because with Pablo laughing at the girl that just, you know, was being sick in the bathroom, there feels like a disconnect between the Pablo that, you know, the Pablo and Josue, but Pablo that made this song versus the Pablo that he's performing here. So it's almost like a character version of himself. I like that the brand's called Aala. That blur, as that motion blur. Oh, I wanted to see if they'd do that again with the alcohol falling on us, but never mind. It's a really creative use of the different shots between the motion blurred affected ones, almost like a POV shot, versus the ones that are more steady. Because there's also these ones here where there's the quick camera changes. Oh, and the color and lighting changes. Ooh, the guitar. I don't remember the guitar.
Jake,
being so clear.
shot mo na. Kakainom ko lang ah. Ano naman? Sino na ba? Si Josue.
So I feel like rather than this being I get that they're performing, but this could almost have been just a simple music video. Because they've got a storyline, you know. It's very well shot. I think that's an important lyric too. Often we get so bogged down in our thoughts. You know, does this person like me? Oh, this person must hate me. Oh, I look like this, or I don't look like this, or you know. And it works here too. You know, drink, don't drink, but make it kind of your choice. I really like this. Just gonna roll scenes. Alcohol scenes 100% juice. I loved that though. I love that they put that little disclaimer at the end because they didn't have to. You know, there's tons of music videos and performance videos that have people drinking, and they don't necessarily have to put disclaimers. So it's a nice touch. Also, I love the mighty band. I love how one person's just coded as the rich kid bestie. I don't know why that just makes me giggle. Okay, so my thoughts about this. I think obviously there's a reason, and obviously we'll probably we may find out the reason as we go through these acts. But I think even if it wasn't part of this kind of storyline sequence that they've put together for us, I think this would serve as an incredibly simple but effective music video for Aala. Like, again, if it was just kind of like how they did with Determinado with the visualizer and then the music video, if they'd have done that with Aala, I think that would have worked the same. My biggest kind of takeaway in this is and from a visual perspective is they're in a very intimate small space. They could have easily filmed maybe on a set or something to make maybe like a pub or a club kind of situation, but they instead decided to kind of really hone in on the friendship aspects and took it to kind of like an apartment space, and so we're very automatically very intimate in this scene. We're not looking at it from outside a window or in a public place. We're not looking at it as a potential stranger. It feels throughout this music video as though we are one of the friends, one of the other people. And at times, because of the POV kind of camera shots like this one, we feel like one of the people that are at the table. There's an interesting use of the POV shots versus the kind of non-POV shots. There's almost like three types of shots in this particular video, where you've got the POV, you've got like a stabilized camera, almost like a perfect audience kind of situation where we're in the scene, but we're part of the scene to a degree, but we're not a character, like a fully fleshed out character, because obviously that takes away from being a perfect audience kind of surrogate in terms of camera. And then there's a third type, which is, it's not exactly a POV, but it's not the standardized stabilized shots, and those are the ones that mostly have the motion blur on them, as though we're drunk, we're imbibed, we're in that moment with everyone. From the visual kind of storytelling, there's an interesting use of color throughout. So in the beginning, you have these lovely green yellows and greens and yellows, but greeny yellows, um, and that's almost like signifying kind of the start of the night, but also the warmth of the night. But then as it goes through, we slowly start to get, like, if you compare this shot with this shot, it's slightly less saturated. And it feels like as it goes along, it desaturates, and you kind of lose that color, almost like when you lose your mind, if you drink too much, or you lose your sense of self when you drink too much. And then slowly, again, as this desaturation happens, the colors start to change, and so as we get to this latter part, and this is a really clever shot here. We have this shot here where the colors change before his eyes. So we're in a POV shot, and we get the colors changing before us, and it's almost that kind of. Obviously, the character themselves, they fall asleep, they pass out. But it's almost that kind of symbolism of kind of realization. You know, we're aware of how much we've drunk almost. And then the colors change to these blues and purples, and this teal here. And then the kind of last color is this teal and orangey yellow. I wouldn't say it's orange, and I wouldn't say it's yellow. It's nice. It's a nice mix between the two. And I think it works really well with the lyrical content, because you have in the lyrics talking about your truth and dealing with your own thoughts, and remembering that your thoughts are often just your own assumptions, your own worries, and that they aren't necessarily the truth. And so it makes sense to have this kind of coloring, because it's more somber, more serious. It's almost like at the start of the night you had all the kind of carefree, I'm saying night, at the start of the sequence, we'll say, you have this like fun, carefree kind of attitude to things. And then it's that idea when you've drunk a lot and you've kind of come out of that other side of clarity, where you almost go from being wild and carefree to the complete opposite, and you're taking everything in really seriously, irrespective of whether maybe you'll remember it when you wake up and the alcohol's out of your system, or or whatever. But it's that kind of journey that happens, that often happens when you drink. You hear about like the fun drunk and the serious drunk, but often it is a journey from one to the other. If you drink too much, it can lead you to be more, what's the word? Pensive, I think is the word. More thoughtful, more worried about things. And so it's nice to have this almost kind of calming lyric reminding you that like it is just in your head. Don't overthink it, kind of thing. But I really liked it. Again, I think it works as a very simple music video. And sounded great. I'm assuming the audio was pre-recorded and then kind of layered in editing. Just because it says performance video, I'm assuming there was some maybe on-set recording. I'm not sure. They sounded great. And the phrase "they eat CDs" is very true. They sound great when they do live performances. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's how they did it. But I really enjoyed this. Let's get to Act 2, because I've talked for a long, long time. So I'm going to assume when we get into this that the performance videos are going to all have this element of short film music video performance hybrid-esque kind of feel to them. Interesting. So we're picking up almost exactly / shortly after the previous one, because obviously with Act 1 we had the entering the space, the apartment, whereas this one we just get straight into it. Interesting storyline wise why we're doing that. Yeah, so this is what I was referring to in the end of the Act 1 discussion there. Because that guitar, I don't remember the guitar being so clear in the recording version, or having the same, when I say clear, I mean having the same tonal qualities in the mixing. And so it's interesting. His glasses are fogging up. I like this purely because, as I said, Pablo and Josue are kind of known to kind of have that eating CDs kind of thing where they sound as good as when they're performing as they do on the record. And why I really like that kind of that fogged up glasses kind of thing is you can tell that he is performing. I couldn't see that happening in the first video. I think more maybe because of the lighting and the angles, but it's nice to see that kind of fogging, because obviously when your glasses fog up, I say this, I don't wear glasses, but when your glasses fog up, it's because of that kind of breathy air kind of and the air mixing with condensation and all that jazz. So it's just interesting. I love that you can hear the bass in the background. The tone on the string instruments are great. Ooh, no, can we just talk about that motif? That that was cool. Okay, the instrumentation, I'm sorry Pablo, I'm distracted, but the instrumentation, the fact that I'm talking about this as he says about being the Prometheus of music, yes. I love this. Obviously the song is about strength and stuff. I'm being very reductionist for this to make my point here. The music, the instrumentation in the background feels like boss music, like in a video game. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting. Oh, this is cool. So, sorry, it just I like that because this is a continuation. There does still feel, this is an Act 2, Part 2. There does still feel like there is consequences from the first act in this, it's not just a case of we've started from here, but there's no consequences, there's no continuity. It feels like they've just put their mics down from Act 1 and then picked them up for Act 2 kind of thing. And so it's nice the way that they are both delivering their lines, because it still looks like it fits in the storyline. That yeah was really cool. Oh yeah, I love that. I love this part of the song. I think what I am gonna go back just to enjoy this moment again. But what I like about this so much more than any other time I've heard this is the fact that we are in such a small space, in terms of visually, and they're taking up the space in a way that one really works for the song, but that I feel like we haven't seen the same, because when we look at like the live performance that I reacted to and even the music video, we had the face off, but the face off, as I call it, was still in a much larger kind of space overall. They met in a place in like the real world kind of thing, versus here where it's almost like we're doing the face off, because we've got this wall of sound behind Pablo and Josue from the instrumentation, and then obviously we've got that bolstered by Pablo and Josue, and it's just because, again, with the live performance that I reacted to, they had a lot more space to move around in, and so again, I said it during that reaction, while they obviously created the energy that was needed for the song, in order to kind of match that energy with the camera, they had to I remember they had to like move in a lot and close up and stuff like that, whereas here it's not just that there is close-ups and stuff and camera movement, it is the fact that the space is physically smaller, and so it's it's already close and more packed. I'm going back here though. I love this part. And what I really love about this performance video, and I think out of the two so far, this is my favorite, when Pablo moves his hand and mic away, I love the way that you can hear that action happen, with the way that his voice trails off. One good thing about mic'd performances is that technique-wise, you can use the way that a microphone captures sound to do cool things like that. And so it's really nice being able to, because as I said, they recorded it and then feeded it in during editing. That's what I mean is what when I say that is they've taken this kind of take, maybe other takes, but specifically for this part, this take, and then they've put that in afterwards, and I really like that, because just as I feel like if they'd have used a different take, where if they were, I'm saying this as if there were multiple takes, shot, there might not have been, but if there were and they used a different one, just because they wanted maybe that polished edge of like having the sound carry on, it would have felt different to me and it wouldn't have had that impact. Whereas I feel like it adds something having that very deliberate mic movement, because you do move your mic in theory deliberately when you're performing, Josue, the growl and the power in his voice. I think this as well. Sorry, I'm gonna get past this point, I promise. I think this part also shows Josue even stronger than I think I've ever seen him. And I think it is because we're in such an intimate space. Yes, there's lights, and yes, there's people, filming, and the instrumentalists. So it's not like he's by himself, but it's a lot more. It's probably a lot less nerve-wracking than making sure you do it right, kind of in the studio, like in that live studio setting. I think it really shows. Oh, I love the way his posture moves as he goes for that as well. Look at the size of his mouth, and this is not an insult when I say that. All of that sound comes from down here in your core, and then it's fully so it's supported down there, and then it's perfectly pushed out by using that low jaw and that large mouth. If he was doing Determinado, yes, the sound is coming out, but it doesn't sound anywhere near the power and the intensity that needs, that part needs. And you can see in the way that everything is, kind of. I'm not an expert when I talk about this. I'm just talking about what I see. But everything is perfectly aligned for him in terms of he's not straining his throat. Everything is coming from down here in his core and his mouth, which is where it should be coming from. And it's just, I don't know. I will get past this point. I promise you. Oh, it's great. I think as well the way he curves his mouth like that really helps that grit come through too. Even there with Pablo, his mouth goes not this small, but imagine this small to this, and you hear the texture change. I love this. I love this. In terms of the storyline, it's almost and I could be completely off base with this, but when when you're in that drunk state, you have that kind of you have that potential to be more argumentative, and it feels like almost that is the kind of visual storytelling we're getting from this. Again, I could be completely off base with the visual kind of storytelling here, but that's kind of what I'm getting. Okay, let's get to Act 3. I've really enjoyed Act 2. I'm very intrigued because obviously with La Luna being a solo, and obviously Josue walked away at the end, I wonder if we're gonna have any lighting changes or anything. Just because when I think of the moon, I think of more silvery tones. It's maybe a little bit. It's less blue. Oh, there we go. It's more, yeah. I didn't put subtitles on. Oh, I'm excited.
Saan nanggaling yun? Sa tagal nakakulong bilang araw ng panahon. Teka, got my shack.
Okay, first thoughts. Acting is amazing. The facial expressions Pablo is kind of pulling really looks like he's disoriented. But vocally, there's something about his tone. And obviously it does exist in the studio recording, but obviously the nuance of it, often you could potentially lose it. in the mixing process, it sounds so clear. I'm just gonna go back. It's almost like he doesn't even remember.
Sa tagal nakakulong bilang araw ng panahon. Teka,
The rolling.
may shackles on, that means I am home. Got no room for visitors, it'd be best if y'all leave me alone.
It's almost like they've used the end of Determinado to get us to this point storyline wise. Almost at the end of, as though the kind of face off moment, as I keep calling it, is Pablo, telling them to go away before he tells them in the song, hey, go away. I think that's really clever.
Hey, go away, I'd be rude if I ask you to stay. Cause I'm gon' pray right before I try to eat my prey. You know what they say. Who cares what they say? Don't invade my space, cause if you do, then I'll leave you like what you don't. Not okay. Siguro nga panahon na para ako'y magising. Harapin at yakapin, tunay na ako'y magiging. Alamin mga bagay na makakaya kong gawin. Kapag ang takot at kinakatakutan ko'y ako rin. Kahit
So far, I think it's been one take as well in terms of the camera. I feel like.
there's it be but my shackles on. That
Yeah, it feels like it's been one take so far.
there's it be best if y'all leave me alone. Hey, go away. I'd be rude if I ask you to stay. Cause I'm gon' pray right before I try to eat my
And here it even looks like he's looking for someone to kind of lash out on.
If you do, then I'll leave you like what you don't. Not okay. Siguro nga panahon na para ako'y magising. Harapin at yakapin, tunay na ako'y magiging. Alamin mga bagay na makakaya kong gawin.
Again, the guitar in the background.
At kinakatakutan ko'y ako rin. Kahit saan magpuntay, piging uhaw ay di na darating. Ako'y magpapakalasing sa dugong bawat magpiling. Umaga'y di na darating, buwan ay laging nakatingin. Di na usong muling iling, tara simulan natin. Was your last proposal, but I'm trying to avoid trouble. All I'm keeping myself to myself is an ideal. Should I really go out there and be healthy? Though it's clear that the whole world is a flip, stay okay.
It's almost like they've put La Luna here as Act 3, almost as the kind of consequence of Act 2 and 3, Act 2, 1 and 2. Everything that lyrically we're saying that Pablo is saying in here feels like it's directly related to what's happened in Act 1 and 2. I love this.
Healthy, though it's clear that the whole world is a flip, stay okay.
I didn't even notice the keyboardist.
Possibly the light the night got for all. Skies are like a melody. I burn 6 a week. Watch me need the pain and game from Alabama. These are my lifeline. On top, it's my time. Lots of mess, twists, and turns, yeah. I keep on taking my timeline.
I love with this because obviously there are a lot of background vocals in the song. I love that you can hear the separation between Pablo's mic and the track's background vocals.
Matatago pa. Nabukas na ang pulang kurtina. Simula na lalaro na tukoy na danak sa mga kaluluwang makamusga. Tuwing hindi magtitipi kahit pa sabihin na hindi na dapat. Tama ang mga mali kasi nga mali. Kailan may respect hindi mamibili. Sa atin ng ko'y naglakbay ng mag-isa. Mga paniniwala ko'y di nabasag ng iba.
That's very intimidating.
Ng maraming kaibigan na sa kalagitnaan ng digmaan ay nawawala. Kung kailangan mo lang sila, yun ay di problema. Kaya-kaya at matagal na ginagawa ko na. Ang iba'y iniisip na sila'y pagwala. Pwede ako tulad nila, ibang kapa. Kaso wala ako, lumoy sa awon. Ako pa'y napagkain na lupa. San man mapadbad aking paa. Tinita na kalimit na hanggang sa di na malayo na ang puso'y bato na. Kaya kinulungan
interesting there. The idea of the lyric, gave the only key I have to him. It's almost like in terms of the storyline, the him is obviously referring to Josue, and then Josue has invited all of these people. I might be wrong with that, but that's the kind of thing that I'm maybe getting storyline wise.
Kung mahanap ang sa piling mo ko sa luluwas sa langgaan magsisimula. Ito ang laluna, hindi kita pipilitin na maiwala. Ang ito mas nakikita pag ito'y wala. Amo nang di maniwala, kayo'y magtago na. Lalo na, simula na lalo na. Amo nang di maniwala, kayo'y magtago na. Lalo na, ka na.
Oh, that turn at the end. Oh, I love that. Especially the way that the almost CRT lines come up. Oh, I love this. Oh, this was really cool. Also, I realized I didn't make sure I always like to take a moment for the credits. I realized I didn't do that with Act 2. I really liked that. I like the way that they connected these three songs, because you can obviously take them as separate stories, as separate songs and separate pieces. But I really like the way that they've connected them. And there is like very clear, well done connections between the three. Sorry, it's because I could see Act 2 on the related videos. But I like the way that we have this setting throughout all three as almost the prison that Pablo refers to in Act 3 and in La Luna. And it's interesting seeing how it goes from the start of the kind of story. I don't want to say the start of the night, because I don't know. Is it meant to be night? Like the start of the night, evening? I don't want to say the start of the night, because I don't know if it's meant to be the start of the night, or if it's just meant to be an ambiguous time. But I like the way that you have this setting at the start of the night, or the start of the sequence, start of the story. And then by the end, you've gone full circle. So at the full end, you get kind of the almost normal colors, the realistic colors that we would see if we were actually there. But throughout Act 1 through 3, the colors start from these normalish colors to these blue, teal, and purple tones, as kind of the time goes on and the story goes on. And I thought that was just, relating to kind of the Aala related kind of things, of the consequences of that. But then with La Luna, it turned to a more gray kind of lighting situation. Like the colors were a lot more gray. And it was almost this idea of the story, to me, almost follows this idea of masking, and then the mask breaks, and then Act 3 is like the culmination of all of that energy, like being expelled. I think Act 2 is still my favorite of the three, but I really liked Act 3 in terms of, because while yes, again, in all three you had the kind of band, the instrumentalists around, with Act 3 it was a lot more focused on Pablo. And so even though it's a small space, Pablo had to fill that space by himself. And the reason I say by himself is obviously because while you have the instrumentalists, and this is not a disrespectful thing that I'm saying when I say this, because they've been in the other two acts as well, they almost themselves become part of the scene. And so it's almost like it's Pablo versus the scene at this point. And he has to fill the scene, and the scene does include the instrumentalists, the band members. And so obviously that's easier to do when you've got, for instance, Josue by your side in Act 2, or Josue and the other cast members, the other characters, the rich friend. Sorry, this is still just in my head. Filling that space. I think that's why I couldn't be sure if they were treating the Aala video as a music video as well as a performance video, because as I said in the Act 3, you could hear with the backing vocals from the track, you could hear the difference between the microphone audio and those backing vocals. And so it's kind of like, for me, I didn't hear that as well, and so that's why I was like, did they pre-record this and then put it in with Act 1? I don't think they did, having seen 2 through 3 now. But it's that thing I think of, because there's less space for them to fill in Act 1, and obviously, again, as I said, those two eat CDs, so they just always sound great. It's harder to hear the instrumentalist and the track, the instrumentals and the track versus the microphone audio. And so that's not a criticism either, because again, these guys sound freaking amazing. But it was easier to see and hear in Act 2 and 3 because of the amount of space they had to fill, if that makes sense. But I really, really enjoyed this, and I like that they chose to do this, because it would have been really, kind of textbook standard to maybe have made a visualizer, and a lyric video, maybe have made a visualizer, a lyric video, or a music video, but they've made visualizers, I should say visualizer / lyric video, sorry. But they've made the visualizer, they've made the music video for Determinado, for instance, and it would have been enough to do that for each song. But I like the way that they've then taken this and then added another layer to this by making it's almost like a musical short film, with this, and it works really well. They could have very easily almost have uploaded this as a single video, go Act 1, 2, 3. And I like the way that they have separated it, because while you can go Act 1, 2, 3 as like an entire, like, just straight watch along in a single video, the separation of it really allows you to focus on each individual song. And if you're like me, where we're watching it in, one after the other, almost in a full run through, yes, minus my pausing and rewinding, you can see how each of them stands individually, and you don't lose necessarily anything. If, say, for instance, you only had time to watch one, you're not going to lose anything watching Act 3 or Act 1 or Act 2 and then not watching the others that you haven't. But when you do watch them as a cohesive storyline, you do get this kind of musical short film. And it does, I think, do very, very well at telling a story. And again, it's something that a lot of short films do. They'll center on one location or one kind of setting scene. And I think this music video, this kind of musical short film video also does that very well, because it doesn't at any point make the setting feel stale because of the constant kind of camera changes, the coloring of the kind of individual and even within the individual acts. And then but you've also got the kind of biggest change is the use of the people within the scene. Again, you start off with, like, I'm going to say big in comparison to the rest of the act. You start with a bigger kind of set of people, and then you go down to Josue and Pablo, and then you go to just Pablo at the end. And so if it was a case of all three acts had just all of the people from Act 1, it might have gotten tiring from a narrative perspective because you're just seeing the same thing. And even like when you see Pablo in Act 3 looking for people, having people in there would have kind of ruined the mood of the song and the performance, because the idea of La Luna, especially in the beginning kind of thing, but throughout as well, is this idea of him pushing people away because of his own internal kind of thoughts, worries, and feelings about himself. And so I think, say for instance, you had, just an idea in my head, the girl that was sick in the bathroom, if you had her still in the bathroom when he went looking around, it would have, I think, cheapened it, because, you know, the idea is he's searching for prey, he's searching for people to lash out at and things to lash out at, not just people. But the idea is he's already done it. You know, he's already sent those people away. And I really, really like the way narratively they did it, that they did it, with because it wasn't kind of unnatural the way they did it. You know, you had at the end of Aala kind of the party's over, guys, everyone leave kind of vibe. And so that gets rid of, you know, the bulk of the cast. And then in the second act, you obviously have that moment, that sequence, what I call the face-off sequence, and which almost in this kind of context mirrors very much a face-off, rather than what I have said previously about the song almost been them building one another up. It's almost like in this particular performance, they're not building each other up and they're not supporting each other. They are just going at it. And so that then gives the narrative the reason to remove Josue. And then leaving Pablo by himself gives him that movement and that space to really, and he really does, to kind of let go of the mask that he's been having from Act 1 that's been slipping in Act 2 and now is fully gone here in Act 3. And it really works. It's when I remember when because obviously I listened to La Luna first, and then Determinado, and then Aala, because I watched it and reacted to it in release order. But I don't think when I heard La Luna, and then when I got to Aala, I don't think I saw such a link between all three. I don't think that was in my head. And so the idea that there is this link, and now, you know, there's this very formal link with the storyline, I think it's very genius. I think it works really well. And I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, these were my thoughts. This was my reaction. Thank you guys so much for watching. What were your guys' thoughts? Please let me know in the comments below. I always love hearing your takes, your discussions, because you often find things that I've missed and talk about things that I've missed, and that's partially why I do this, is because I enjoy the conversation and hearing you guys sharing your thoughts and appreciations for this art that we're all getting to see and interact with together. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone. Bye.